Do you know who I am? I'm a working man. I'm a postman. I'm a delivery boy. I'm a transportation expert. I'm just a construction worker. Do I have any special forces experience? Of course I do. Oi. What's the job? You got a job. What's the job? What did I use to take down those 9 men? Just this sock. Who am I? You tell me. Do you not know who I am? I don't think he knows who I am. Seems like you don't know who I am. Everybody knows who I am. Except you. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you?
Good morning, sweet world, and welcome to the No Dunks podcast on the Athletic Network. It's Monday, January 13th, 2025. I'm Jay Skeets, back in the Classic Factory, and alongside me, if you're cold, he's cold. Bring him inside. It's Tass Mellis.
Oh, come on. I had it easy out there. Podcast listeners, this for you.
Next to him, it's the bearded one, my top shot hot boy, Trey Kirby.
Hey-o.
Hey-o. And over yonder, making the magic happen, super producer JD.
Hello.
There he is. Here we are. We should say JD. Last week, Tass, pick and pay off outside all week. Looked amazing and sounded amazing.
Yeah.
A lot of people were
good.
listening to the podcast and coming over to YouTube to make sure you were even outside.
Yeah.
Because it somehow sounded better.
Sounded better.
I think so.
Yeah, well, we need more sound baffling in here. Or just do the show outside.
Great call.
Once it warms
Because,
up, not bad.
you know, the snow, it adds a dampening effect,
Yeah.
I guess, and the grass and the trees.
We did have big plans for the Friday episode where we were going to be here. Tass all week was just outside the Classic Factory.
Yes.
We were going to open the garage door.
Yeah.
That would have been the funny reveal, but then we got blasted with the snow and kept everybody at home. But it ended up working out.
Worked out
'cause
great.
You were in your backyard and you had Danny going through the background. We saw a cat, and then you did a little tobogganing at the end.
Yeah. Well, air quotes, tobogganing. I tried.
You tried.
It started raining midway through our show, so the snow was already wet, so I just couldn't slide on it.
Yeah.
But I will say that my mic sock that I had on, it just dried now. It was soaking wet. Luckily, I had that on my microphone that I was holding up to my mouth for an hour because I took it off. I was like, wow, that thing is wet.
Yeah, you couldn't really tell like you were getting rained on or drizzled on.
The camera
like, on
couldn't
the show.
see it.
No,
the camera couldn't.
But great stuff, and kudos to you, JD, for the production elements on that. Also want to say thank you to the Skyhawks for having No Dunks out yesterday in College Park to call the Cruise Skyhawks G League game. Thanks to everybody that checked it out as well. I know Nora checked it out online on YouTube. She said, it's full of the stream teamers, the normal No Dunk sickos. So that was cool to see. So thanks to everybody. And here's a photo my buddy Grish, your buddy Grish, our buddy Grish took of us doing our quick intro all in blue because it was Bluey Day, TK.
Wow, that Grisham took this picture.
Yeah.
He's never taken a better picture in his life.
Yeah.
Well,
this is his first good photo he's ever taken, but fun stuff. And I know we had, hey, it's true.
That's the best photo of us from yesterday. You know, you see random photos. That's
it's
the
not
best
bad.
one.
It's not bad.
We looked great. We also had some fans in attendance for sure. Harrison, part of the Motor City Cruise operation, came up and said hi. Very cool to meet him. And I know there were some fans in the stands as well who brought their kids.
Yeah.
Had to leave early, unfortunately, so we didn't get to say hi. But thanks for coming out. Fun time. Unfortunately, a loss for our Skyhawks.
Yeah, we jinxed it.
Yeah,
we jinxed it. The Skyhawks were on a 4-game home win streak, and then here comes No Dunks to ruin it. But it was an entertaining game back and forth. And we are scheduled to do another Skyhawks game on a Friday night come March. So as we get closer to that, we'll remind everyone. So maybe if you're in the area, come on out or at least catch it online. But thanks again to Skyhawks. Look, every time we do this, we say it, and I mean it. It's like you have so much more respect for the NBA broadcasters, for any broadcaster for that matter, calling a live sporting event. It's not easy.
Yep.
Yeah, you need reps, and I feel like we're getting better at it. But geez, you're like, well, I've said that already. No, I just said that. Can't say that again. Oh, just repeated myself. Oh, I think I said the wrong guy. You know, like it's like little things like that. But kudos to the pros for doing it. All right.
It's tough to officiate. It's tough to do anything out there. It's just there are a lot of hard jobs there, being close to the floor.
Yeah, the officiating is another one. You brought it up on the broadcast.
Yeah.
It's like because you're right there, you see like right in front of you the bang bang call, and you're like, well, you could have called that, I guess, either way.
Yeah.
You know, offensive foul.
Yeah, it's funny.
Foul,
It's interesting seeing the G League refs get their reps as well.
Yeah.
They're taking it on in a different way, the way they communicate with each other. I was watching the gum kit. Everybody who comes and grabs a piece of gum. I saw Joey Hauser of the Skyhawks grab a piece of Trident before the second half. You see how thick...
I saw Trey Kirby grab a couple mints.
Oh, yeah.
Lifesavers?
I had 2 mints, and I had 1 Apple Jolly Rancher, and then I was so excited that after the game, I reached in my pocket, and I had a secret mint.
Oh, saved one.
I was so happy to see that tray of snacks there, because I know Tass is on snack watch for most of these basketball games, and you actually got to see inside of it, see what snacks or lozenges they were. You know, they were all sweets.
Yeah. Or the Trident
Gums,
gum.
yes.
I was shocked by a Trident gum. I don't know.
Easy to chew. So small.
Yeah, it just goes away. Like, disintegrates, right? Doesn't it disintegrate sort of?
Well, the funny part to me is
not a long-lasting
the funny
gum.
part to me is what it's in. It's in like a DeWalt toolkit, you know, or whatever you want to call it. It's like really heavy duty. It's like, heaven forbid that falls off. Don't worry, it's gonna be okay. It's not gonna shatter. It's not cheap plastic. So they put a lot of thought into it. But again, we'll be on another call in March. Let's get into the NBA action though. And we'll do our winners and losers of the NBA weekend. Do a couple rounds of winners. TK, you get to start. Who's your big winner of the weekend?
Paolo Banchero, winner of the weekend for me, because this guy is back. He came back on Friday after missing, I believe, 34 games for the Orlando Magic. Played against the Milwaukee Bucks. Looked awesome. 34 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Milwaukee was definitely giving him the jumper, but the jumper was money for Paolo on Friday night. He hit 5 threes, 3 mid-range jumpers, just 2 layups in this one. Paolo's usually a driver type. He is getting to the free throw line for sure, but came out looking to score. Unfortunately outdone by Giannis, who put up 41 points and 14 rebounds in the win for Milwaukee, but Paolo was good again, I thought, Sunday against Philadelphia. Only 20 points, but also added 8 rebounds and 6 assists. 6 turnovers, not the greatest, but he's got a lot of responsibility on his shoulders. Had that awesome dunk on Paul George where George caught him on a switch, put him in the basket. Paul George just goes sliding underneath the stanchion. Paolo throws it down. Then a dagger jumper again from Paolo, hitting the midi to beat Philadelphia. Really sealed the win for them after a nice offensive rebound by Trevelyan Queen. Paolo's only played 7 games this year, but the Magic are awesome.
They are awesome.
They've got 16 games left before the All-Star break.
Ooh.
Is it too late, literally, for an all-star push for Paolo Banchero? In the Eastern Conference, you're looking talent-wise. He was one of the best players in the league for 5 games to start the season. He had a couple of good ones here. Let's say he gets up to 20 games played. The Magic deserve an all-star.
Yeah,
Wouldn't the coaches be like, Paolo Banchero, you're an all-star. You missed half the season, for the most part. But I think he's still got a chance.
Yeah, that is the weird thing, because Franz Wagner can't take that spot because he's injured.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it has to go to somebody. Yeah, I wonder what the coaches do. I think that boosts the 4 Cavs push a little bit more with the injury. But it was miraculous that this guy comes in and they win against Philadelphia because of all the injuries that they had going into the game, and then the guys that sat during the game. KCP was out, along with both Wagners, Mo and Franz, and Jet Howard out. So 4 guys out. Then the first minute, De Silva goes out with an illness. Second quarter, it was Bataze who left.
Yep.
So they were left with 8 guys. Period.
Yeah.
And as you said, Paolo Banchero hits a winner because Trevelyan Queen grabs a huge offensive rebound, and he was making beautiful back cuts that Jonathan Isaac was feeding him before. This was the best game, I think, of Jonathan Isaac's career. He had 13 fourth quarter points, 20 and 11, 8 of 13, 2 threes, his first double-double since 2019. And there was a really weird, crazy coach's challenge call that went against Cole Anthony the last few minutes. It was a really weird one. The Magic broadcasters were saying, what game are these refs watching? Are they watching a different game? They needed some G League referees in there. It was an odd call, but all that to say, 8 Magic players come out and win this basketball game, because they just do it every single night against the Philadelphia 76ers team. You can say, yeah, they don't have Joel Embiid. Well, there's no excuse for the 76ers. We'll get into them because the Magic had 8 players playing.
Yeah. To speak to your, could Paolo Banchero make the All-Star team? He was 4th when it came to fan return, so there was there was a lot of respect, obviously, from the fan vote. Now, it was a huge drop-off. I should make this very clear. It's Giannis. He had over 2 million votes. It was Tatum and Karl Anthony Towns with a lot of votes, and then there was 1 million vote drop off to 4th, but that was Paolo there, despite at that point had only played 5 games. So you're right, if he plays some more here, and will they get a representative, it would be him. I don't think it's super far-fetched, honestly. It's going to be crazy if, like, Paolo makes it in limited playing time over, like, Jalen Johnson or something like that because of their record, because of his track record. But then, of course, you're putting it against Jalen Johnson, who's played a lot more games, stuff like that. I feel like that could be a debate that maybe we get into when we start picking these teams.
Yeah, the only reason to keep Paolo out is because of games played.
That's it.
He's been one of the probably 8 best players in the Eastern Conference. He's only played 7 games.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
The main thing is staying healthy from here on out. He's got to at least get to 20 games to even have a chance to make the All-Star team. But very good to get him back. They did a great job of treading water in the meantime. Orlando has been awesome, and to get that win yesterday against the Sixers team, I mean, they had no Embiid, but we'll get into them later. They're losers for a reason. But great stuff from the Magic. They know how to win games when they're shorthanded.
All right, let's keep it going. Tass, who do you have?
The Indiana Pacers. Yep. Talk about us, national media, and I'm not sure if we are classified as the national media anymore. What classifies as national media? But the Indiana Pacers deserve to be talked about, and I shall talk about them. They have won the most games in a row in the Eastern Conference. 7 straight, 6 by double digits. That's pretty miraculous. They were 5th in the Eastern Conference now. For a second before Orlando won their game, they were 4th in the Eastern Conference, and they were 6th when they went to the postseason last year. So, yeah, they beat the Warriors on Friday. Siakam had 25, Halliburton had 25 as well. But a lot of the Warriors were out. The more miraculous win was they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers on Sunday, snapping the Cavs' 12-game winning streak. How did they do it? It's that pecking order and their supporting players that come out and play. Everybody contributed. I thought at one point in the second half, every single one of their guys was their best player, a totally different guy. And Tyrese Halliburton went out after the first half with a hamstring injury, so they needed other guys to step up. And man, did they. Bennedict Mathurin had 7 points in the first few minutes of that third quarter, a guy who didn't play in the playoffs last year that they're adding in. Obi Toppin, 10 points in the last 5 minutes of that third quarter, and that dunk. That was sexy time.
A little reverse.
Yeah, in the fourth quarter, Jarris Walker had 5 rebounds to start that quarter. He was blowing up plays defensively. They decided we're going to go a little bit smaller against Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. It really worked. Again, another guy who wasn't part of the playoff rotation. And then Andrew Nembhard was awesome. 11 points in the fourth quarter. Had the shot to steal it. Yeah, it was a banker. Yeah, it wasn't on purpose, but that doesn't matter. The Cavs held under 100 points for the first time this season. Now, a lot of it was them just missing threes. That is totally true. But I think this Pacers team just needs to be talked about. Tyrese Halliburton has been so good over the last month. It's one of those things that, yeah, it's just the facts are ESPN and all those, the national medias really don't talk too much about the Indiana Pacers. Those are facts. But the Pacers have been good. Over the last 15 games, they have the 8th highest defense. Over the last 6 games, the second best defense. 6 games, okay, it's a very small sample size. But all that to say, I think they are a slightly different team than the team that went to the postseason. Now, the Tyrese Halliburton injury is a little bit scary. He left hamstring injury. He had an ankle injury on the other leg a little while ago. But a good thing, let's be positive here. They only have 5 games over the next 16 days. So it's sort of a light schedule. They are the team that's going to Paris, where No Dunk should be representing.
A few of us. So
we. Yeah, San Antonio, Indiana are those 2 games. So they have a long break here. And I guess Halliburton will be getting some of that break. I'm not sure if he'll be playing in Paris. Hopefully it's not a long-term injury, but you never know. With a hammy, you really never know.
Exactly. I mean, we've been talking about Halliburton's hamstring injury from this time last year.
Yeah.
Didn't it happen right around this exact time? Yeah.
And it's obviously lingered, but he got in a nice rhythm, so definitely a bummer to see him go down. But this was an impressive win for the Pacers. 40 first half points they scored. Really poor. They were down 15 early in the third quarter here, but they started pressuring the ball full court thanks to Andrew Nembhard for 7 turnovers in the third quarter. That allowed the Pacers to get in transition. They had 10 fast break points in the second half. You mentioned the Obi Toppin reverse dunk. That was kind of the momentum changer because Indiana had it from then on out. That's how you get Andrew Nembhard banking in 3-pointers. Pascal Siakam hitting the wildest and ones you've ever seen. It's the defense that's doing it because the Pacers are good offensively. They're 3rd in offense in their last 15 games, but they're only 17th in pace. They've definitely changed. The ball moves fast in the half court, but they're not necessarily that fast-breaking team that we saw at the start of last season. We'll see if they're able to continue it without Halliburton here. It just seems like they found a little bit better balance between everybody, with Mathurin coming in. He's an unusual type of player, especially considering the way that the Pacers like to play. Siakam's a tricky fit, I think so. It took almost a year for them to figure out the best way to integrate all those pieces together. We'll see if they're able to keep it up, missing their star.
Yeah, and they were missing, Andrew Nembhard there for a good chunk early in the season. He was out for 10, 11 games, something like that. He's an important piece. We saw him in the postseason. Definitely just gives him some energy. He can hit shots, and he played really well in this one where Halliburton went out for sure. So nice win. They snap, obviously, the Cavs winning streak, like you said. Handed the Cavs, I think, their only second home loss the entire season. So barely no one's done that in their barn. And yeah, they went ice cold from deep. 11 of 41, I think the Cavs shot there on Sunday. But awesome win by the Pacers. Show them some love, national media, whoever you are.
Whoever you are.
Us included, as they got it done. All right, my first winner of the weekend, I'm going to give it to two guys, Jokic and Westbrook. The synergy between these guys is real, and it's glorious. It's fun to watch. So on Friday night, Jokic, he did MVP-like things, 35 points, 15 assists, 12 boards in his return to the lineup. And Westbrook had 25 points, 11 boards, and 10 assists as the Nuggets, in the end, steamrolled the Brooklyn Nets 124-105. Nets kept it close, and then the Nuggets sort of ended this one hot. Second time this season that those two guys have had triple-doubles in the same game, and according to the NBA, they're the first teammates in history to have triple-doubles in the same game multiple times in a single season. I love that it's these two guys. Mr. Triple-double in Russell Westbrook, and then Jokic does it in his sleep, and I think ranks, third all-time. It goes Westbrook, Oscar Robertson, I believe, and then Jokic right there. So these guys doing it, but man, Westbrook, there's a resurgence here. The Renaissance. Just playing with Jokic seems to help, and being in the starting lineup where the Nuggets, sort of like the Pacers, both teams really weird starts, slow starts, and have now put together sort of winning streaks or good stretches here, and they've climbed in the rankings. But what have you been impressed most by Westbrook starting here and how he's clicking with Jokic in the Nuggets?
It feels like Westbrook has replaced Jamal Murray in the pecking order for the Denver Nuggets. It's the two-man game of Westbrook and Jokic down the stretch against the Mavericks that got them the win. It's really cool because I didn't see it coming. Jokic has weaponized Westbrook's off-ball cutting. He assists Westbrook on dives so many times. Jokic draws a lot of eyeballs, and he's great at passing. So Westbrook is just getting it into the post and cutting right off him. Jokic finds him underneath for easy baskets. There hasn't really been a player who's been able to do that with Westbrook. Like LeBron playing with Westbrook, obviously that didn't work because LeBron's a different kind of player. He likes to manipulate the court, get to his spots, and then create from there. Jokic will just do it from anywhere. If a guy's open, you're getting the ball. And that's worked out with Westbrook. He's one of the best off-ball players in the league right now, even though he's still not a three-point shooter.
No.
He's a cutter, and it's working. That's why it might be a little weird now that Aaron Gordon is back. He came off the bench, but when Aaron Gordon starts, he cuts in the exact same places as Russell Westbrook. So I don't know exactly how they're going to fit geometrically on the court once Gordon works himself back up to starter level minutes, because they like to do kind of the same things. But Westbrook has been a savior for the Nuggets. With Murray struggling this season, Westbrook has been able to get them wins that they wouldn't be getting.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought up the dilemma of okay, what happens when Aaron Gordon comes back? Well, he did on Sunday, and you said it. Malone stuck with Westbrook in the starting lineup. Aaron Gordon came off the bench. They got the victory, big comeback versus the Mavericks. So a great weekend for the Nuggets in general, both victories. And the Nuggets are now 13-4 with Russ in the starting lineup. It's a funny thing, Taz. It's not like the defense improves when you replace Aaron Gordon with Westbrook, but the offense right now is elite. And really, yeah, like Trey said, the two-man game, just the pressure Westbrook puts on a team, he is revitalized in that sense. And he talked about Malone, trust me and believes in me. And I know he has been made fun of in a lot of his previous spots and sort of ran out of LA, and I get that, but it's working with Jokic there, and they love this guy. That locker room, this team loves Westbrook.
Yeah, all the stats are important, but I think the biggest thing that they wanted when they signed him was just to give them some edge, to give them some motivation that they lost some when Bruce Brown was left. I mean, they needed somebody like that. Watching them up close and personal in the NBA Finals, Bruce Brown would just yell, running up and down the floor. They just needed that. Yeah. They needed something in their locker room, especially after you win a championship. He left. They just didn't have it last year.
Because Jokic is not like that. That's not in his DNA. Yeah. Not Murray. Not Porter. Not Aaron Gordon. So, that's where Russ is very different.
But it is odd here seeing it in December and January because we watched the first month where he was coming off the bench, and it wasn't pretty. But you know who it works for? the relentless guy. And that was exactly what Russell Westbrook was. It didn't matter that he stunk coming off the bench. He got put into the starting lineup, and he continues to move. So, yes, when Jokic gets the ball on offense, that guy just does not stop moving. And so when the focus has to be on Nikola Jokic, has to be on the best player in the world, and people are looking at him, you can back out. You can back out over and over and over again, and Westbrook will do that. And it has helped big time. He also just pushes the ball. Speaking of the relentlessness, they lead the league in fast break points. That's shocking to me. They were middle of the pack last year. They were better the year before when Bruce was around. But now leading the pack is surprising because of just how old they are getting. It is interesting you bring up Jamal Murray, Trey, because he is more prominent in this team right now, the way they play. Because it used to be when they won the championship, it's just a 1-2 combo. Let's pick and roll to death. But Jamal just hasn't been the same guy. So the way they work is definitely different. And yeah, the Aaron Gordon insertion now will be different. Michael Porter Jr. looks really good. Yeah, it's changing. The Denver Nuggets are changing.
And so do you think Malone will go back to Aaron Gordon in the starting lineup, or do you sort of just got to run with this and continue with the success of Westbrook starting until you maybe hit a rough patch? Like, the decision is to be made here, and I don't know what the right answer is.
I think Aaron Gordon will start.
Yeah.
They need his defense on the wing, and he's established there. They gave him a big contract.
True.
He's like just as good with Jokic as Westbrook is. We've talked about Jokic revitalizing Aaron Gordon's career, and honestly, it's better for the playoffs because Westbrook, the question is still going to be in the playoffs. You got to be able to make shots in the playoffs. He was good for the Clippers during the regular season last year as well, and then helped shoot them out of games come playoff time. So I think the best version of the Nuggets probably has Westbrook in a heavily featured role as their sixth man.
Nuggets are now 23-15, 8 games over 500. First time this season they've got that far above 500, and they're right back in the mix when you look at the standings with the Rockets and the Grizzlies when you're looking at teams basically 2 through 4, which is pretty amazing after that very disappointing start where we were like, oh no, what are they going to do? And they might still make some moves, of course. You know, can they get a taker for Michael Porter Jr. in that contract? Remains to be seen. Maybe that easily opens up a spot for Gordon and Westbrook to be in the starting lineup if something like that were to happen, but who knows. I just love this line from Brad Botkin about Westbrook. For a guy who racked up such historic stats over the course of his career, it's interesting that Westbrook's always felt more like someone who impacts the game in ways less quantifiable. He's an energy guy who for a long time just also happened to be a superstar. So now that he's not a superstar, he remains a nightly jolt of adrenaline for Denver. That's what they wanted, that's what they were hoping for, and that's what they're getting right now. And the two guys, man, it's Westbrook and Jokic. I guess entering play on Friday, Westbrook had delivered 84 assists to Jokic on the season, which was the third highest total for any two-man combo in the league. Trailed only Chris Paul to Victor Wembanyama, also known as Hector Banana Bread, and then Trae Young to Jalen Johnson were the two guys. So, yeah, right there. Westbrook to Jokic, and then there's obviously a lot of Jokic to Westbrook.
Yeah, how high is Jokic to Westbrook on the list? Probably top 10?
Yeah, exactly.
Brett Usher on Twitter put together a good video of the Jokic to Westbrook passes throughout the season. They're pretty.
You move, he's going to find you. Yeah. All right, let's do another round of winners. What do you got, TK?
I got the Memphis Grizzlies. They out-toughed the Minnesota Timberwolves on Saturday night. 21 offensive rebounds for the Grizzlies in this one. Throwback to their playoff series a couple of years ago that ended up with the Timberwolves making a trade for Rudy Gobert because they couldn't rebound against this Memphis Grizzlies team. Turned into 25 second chance points. The Grizzlies also forced 19 turnovers off the Minnesota Timberwolves. That turned into 27 points. So Memphis in this game took 108 shots. That's a crazy number to see. Anytime you're in triple digits, that's good. Ja Morant was sick in this game. In the clutch, at least, with a 4-point game.
Yep.
Ja checks back in, 2 minutes and 45 seconds left. Right away gets an oop to Brandon Clark. Very interesting alley-oop. He threw it 20 feet in the air for an alley-oop layup. It looked really weird, but a great pass. Then he has a tough layup to tie the game. Then that crazy baseline shot over Anthony Edwards. And I should mention, all of these buckets and assists were with Ant guarding him. He was just getting by him, no problem. Anthony Edwards did not look locked in defensively at all for the Timberwolves, I thought. In this one, Jaren Jackson Jr. was so good in this game. 33 points, 8 rebounds. He had 9 of his points in the fourth quarter. He's averaging 26 a game right now. Yeah. 6 boards, just like a guard would. 2 assists, a steal and a half, a block and a half. But the most impressive thing is that he's getting a lot of these buckets by himself. It's his lowest percentage of made field goals in his career. The gap year did him some good. Like, he used to not have a go-to offensive game, much like Bam Adebayo, where you're like, he can do a lot of stuff, but what's he really good at? he's good at putting the ball on the floor and getting inside right now. He's gotten stronger. The handle is tighter, and he's able to finish inside. Very impressive. And the last thing I got for the Grizzlies, Jalen Wells, he's the Rookie of the Year. I've given a fake Rookie of the Year to a lot of guys when they have one good game, but this guy has had a really solid half season. We're halfway through the season at this point. He helped hold Anthony Edwards to 15 points in this one on 4 of 13 field goal shooting. He always takes on the toughest assignment, and he always wants to lay his head right on the offensive player's chest. I'm going to call him the cuddler.
Oh, wow.
It's an amazing thing. Steph Curry was talking about it after the Grizzlies played the Warriors. He's like, I've never had somebody do that to me. Just put his face on me. Like he wants to eat me. Weird stuff, but he's third in minutes among rookies. He's first in scoring. He's shooting 37% from three.
It's on a good team,
He's on a good team. He's been starting the entire season.
Yeah.
It's a Malcolm Brogdon Rookie of the Year, where you're like, maybe not star potential for this guy, but you see exactly how he's going to be a good role player going forward. So a nice win for the Grizzlies and just some absolute bonehead stuff from the Timberwolves, I thought, down the stretch in this one.
And this was also the game where Anthony Edwards got a tech for flexing on the bench after a Rudy score, which was very weird.
It's just the normal flex, I thought. It's just like, didn't even look like much of a flex because it was a double hand, like chest, big traps flex. It wasn't anything even.
What did Trey call it one time? The crazy kangaroo flex.
Right? The
Jack
Australian kangaroo.
Yeah. What a weird one.
That was weird.
Jalen Wells is awesome. The way he was face guarding Anthony Edwards, literally just putting his face towards his chest. I didn't realize it really was on his chest, but a cuddler is a good one. I mean, it is face guarding in a new way because other teams have tried it. You know, the 2019 finals, Fred VanVleet was kind of doing that to Steph as they tried anyway to just face guard. And that's what Jalen Wells is doing. Yeah. This game was awesome. That's why parity in the NBA is great. Who cares what people say? This is just fun. It was definitely like what happened in the playoffs 2 years ago between these two teams. But really, it came down to offensive rebounds, as you said. That was a lot more shots for one team than the other team. The Memphis Grizzlies took 25 more shots than the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's a freaking lot. Jeez. 108 to 83. And Dante DiVincenzo said it's really that simple. Take care of the ball and rebound the ball, and we win this game by double digits. He didn't even just say we win. He said by double digits because they played awesome. Offensively, they were so good. They had 103 points on Memphis through 3 quarters, and that guy DiVincenzo, they were undefeated with him in the starting lineup until this game, and he came in and he was so good. 27 points, 10 boards, 7 assists, 6 threes. He dropped Scottie Pippen Jr. once. He grabbed a huge offensive rebound to give them another opportunity to tie the game at the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter try there, I should say, with Anthony Edwards at the end. This looked like Dante DiVincenzo with the Knicks, and then Naz Reid had 5 threes off the bench. Jaden McDaniels, 9 of 12, 3 threes, 21 points. They looked good. They shot 57% from the floor, and then they lose.
Yeah. So the Grizzlies now take on the Rockets again. They just played not long ago. They play tonight on NBA TV. Exactly. So that one's on at 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. That one's in Houston. Your final winner of the weekend, Tess.
I'm going with something simple, but I just loved watching the Oklahoma City passing. Strictly the passing this weekend. It looked great. Versus the Knicks, they destroyed them on Friday. Fun part for me was Isaiah Hartenstein backdoor passes to Isaiah Joe over and over and over again. He had 6 assists. You could see why OKC brought him in to stretch out the floor, to give them lots more space, and why they gave him a big contract to get him away from those New York Knicks. And he was pulling out the binoculars after his big passes. Beautiful celebration, but really just watching that and watching Shea operate in the space to score more points than he usually does. He dropped a 39. Usually he's always the 31 guy, but he dropped 39 on 21 shots. It was hard not to see Kobe Bryant the way Shea was moving around that floor in the mid-range. And I just see Isaiah Hartenstein stretching the floor, letting Shea work. And you start to think about Chet Holmgren coming back and the 4 or 5 working together, Hartenstein and Chet. As Chet is ramping up his return, he should be coming back soon. There's going to be lots of room. And so to watch those passes was awesome. Against the Wizards, they had 9 rotation players with an assist in their second game of this weekend. And, the numbers aren't all that sexy against the freaking Wizards, but they scored a ton of points. And I can't wait to see their offense take another step when Chet Holmgren comes back. Because, of course, their defense is good. But the Hartenstein, Chet, yin and yang, along with the guys who will have more space, is going to be really interesting. And they're close now to the Cavs in the standings. I know I'm looking way ahead, but they're only one game back of the Cavs in terms of record now because the Cavs lost this weekend. So they may have the best record not only in the West, but in the entire NBA. So, damn, they look good. Mm-hmm. And here comes Chet. Here comes their best team. It still hasn't really put together everything quite yet.
Yeah, that's the scary part. They're like maybe the best team in the league, and they don't have Chet Holmgren.
Yeah,
which we've seen when he's there. It like takes them to another level. So that's huge for them. An obvious winner of the weekend should be the Sacramento Kings. It should be. Sabonis went for 23 and 28, Trey Kirby.
That's a lot of roast beef.
He did that in a win against the Celtics. And then he followed it up with 22, 15, and 8 against Trey Kirby's Chicago Bulls. De'Aaron Fox back after missing 3 games with a bruised right glute.
Bruised butt.
The Kings improved to 7-1 under interim head coach Doug Christie. 7 straight now after they lost their first one. But the problem is, you can't give the Kings a winner of the weekend. You can't talk about the Sacramento Kings when they're rolling. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me, you can't get fooled again. To quote George Bush there. So I can't give it to the Kings. You just can't do it. It's like a pitcher that has a no-hitter going. Just don't look at them. Don't talk about them. Because as soon as you do, you're going to ruin it. And I am proof. I've done it multiple times here on No Dunks over the years. When the Kings got it going, I come on here, I say, oh, this team's amazing. Oh, Malik Monk's amazing. Oh, this. And then it blows up in your face. So I'm not giving them a winner of the weekend. No. Instead, I'm giving it to the crappy teams, to the capture the flag lottery teams. That's the winner of the weekend. Because that number 1 pick just got even more enticing if you saw what Duke forward Cooper Flagg did over the weekend. On Saturday, 42 points, career high, to help his team get the win over Notre Dame. Not only set Duke's new single-game freshman scoring record, surpassing Zion Williamson, who had 35 against Syracuse, in 2019, but Flagg also set the ACC single-game freshman scoring record. This guy, these highlights are awesome. Made 11 of his 14 shots, 4 of his 6 threes, money at the free throw line, 16 of 17 for the big guy, added 6 boards and 7 assists. He's a two-way force. He defends exceptionally well, I think, for a very switchable power forward. He's a number 1 pick. I know there are other good talent in this obviously mock drafts that you see, but he's going number 1. And so that's why the 5 NBA teams that still haven't surpassed 10 wins are winners of the weekend, because they're going to have a pretty good chance at getting Cooper Flagg. The Wizards, 6-31. The Raptors, Pelicans, and Hornets all at 8 wins. And then the Jazz got their 10th win over the weekend. Those are your 5 teams with over a 10% chance of winning the number 1 pick in June. But let's not count out the Brooklyn Nets. Don't do that, because they lost to Utah last night. They're 13-26. They've already traded some guys. They might trade some more. They've lost 5 straight. They're leaning hard into the tank. And I think they could give themselves a chance to, maybe jump, let's say, the Jazz or the Hornets. Maybe the Raptors, probably not the Raptors, but they could be in the mix there for a good chance. But man, he looked awesome. And these teams are going to have the best chance. One of these teams will likely get the number 1 pick when you add it all up, the odds, but you never know. You get those slim chances when you're lower in the standings. So good game from him, man. We say it a million times, we're not draft experts. You obviously got to follow the star elite players, though, that are going to be 1, 2, or 3. And this guy, holy crap, this was his best game I'd seen.
Yeah, he's good. I don't know if Notre Dame's any good. It's not football,
not
so my guess is no, unless they got Pat Connaughton back. But 42 points. The guy gets compared to Kawhi Leonard a lot, which I think is kind of odd. It's because he's a sterling defensive prospect. Like, he's the best defender in the draft, which you don't even see in these highlight packages, but you watch it, you're like, oh, I see where the Kawhi comparisons come from. The way he's getting into his mid-rangers, the physicality he brings as a big wing. I think I want him on the Hornets. I think that's the team of those that I would be most excited for.
Interesting. Well, I'll personally pick the Raptors, but yeah, I can see
we don't need him going north. No way, man.
On.
No way.
Do people call him the main event?
No, they call him the Mainer Cooper Flagg.
The Mainer Cooper Flagg.
We had a guy write in for 5 Star Friday once upon a time saying when he starts getting hyped up, you got to call him the Mainer Cooper Flagg. So I'm calling him the Mainer.
I like the main event, though, if nobody's going with that.
That is what they call him, I think.
Okay, good. Anyway, he looks awesome, so these teams are going to have a good crack at him. So we'll give that to the final winner of the weekend. But it's, sort of slightly the Kings. Okay, let's go to losers. Trey, who you got?
Zion Williamson, you loser. Biggest loser of the weekend for me, suspended Friday for being late to the team plane. That's exactly what it was, according to ESPN's Shams Charania. Williamson was late for Thursday's team flight to Philly ahead of their game Friday against the 76ers, so he didn't play. Willie Green added, there were several occasions that led to this. That's how we got to this decision. It's just a complete lack of professionalism from Zion. Embarrassing for the franchise to get him back. He has the 360 game. Everybody's excited. We're like, that's the best moment the Pelicans are going to have this season. Didn't play the next game, suspended for the game after that. His return week, he played once. Ridiculous. That's honestly ridiculous. And it just reeks of, I don't care at all. Yeah. And that's the main criticism of Zion. You haven't been able to be on the court because of your body. You should be able to be on the court because you show up on time.
Yeah.
Simple.
And this is not like any sort of like one-off thing where, hey, I just got caught in traffic and I missed a plane. By all accounts, this is like an ongoing, you're late for everything, You're always last here, and that's starting to like irritate people, especially when you're not playing. So yeah, Zion Williamson, an obvious loser.
Yeah, for Willie Green, the head coach, to come out and say, it wasn't just this one time.
Yeah.
They could easily just say, you missed the flight, you're suspended. But they were verbal about it. And that, to me, is a sign that they're not going to try and trade him, that they're trying to make it work internally, because they wouldn't say, this guy doesn't come to anything if they wanted to trade him.
Yeah, good point.
That's not really helping his trade value. They're saying, we've got this great talent. Somehow, miraculously, we're going to try and fix his body, and we're going to get through to him mentally, because it was frustrating. And to see him in that, the second game, first of all, they win without Zion on Friday. Yeah. And then the second game, he was just extremely frustrated with himself, it seemed like, against Boston. Just wasn't happy. Right. So, a lot of problems, unfortunately, with Zion Williamson.
And then now Herb Jones is also out indefinitely for the Pelicans. Season from hell for this team. And, this doesn't help. Where Zion comes back, he looks pretty good, and then can't show up on time, and so they got to suspend him. Because they're like, what do you want us to do, man? Like, we can't let you keep getting away with this. This is a bad sort of culture we're setting here if we let you keep just showing up whenever you want and sort of going through the motions. Yep. So, smart move, I guess, by them, but tough position they were in. All right, Tass, who do you have for a loser?
Well, to extend it to the Philadelphia 76ers, who lost to those Pelicans, I think their prospect at actually making the NBA playoffs is dead. And I mean, they can still make it if they make the play-in tournament and get in. But when Joel Embiid came back and Paul George was healthy again, there seemed a path to make it into the top 6. It seemed legitimate, especially in the Eastern Conference. But I think that's gone. I think with the way that other teams are playing in Indiana, there's too many. There's too many teams now in the Eastern Conference that are playing well. They're not that far back of 6 seed. They're 5 games back. But now Joel Embiid actually is legitimately injured. And they're not just trying to rest him, ramp him up. He's got an ankle injury. It ain't anywhere close to the knee, which is constantly injured, unfortunately. But you lose a game without Embiid to the Orlando Magic, who are playing 8 guys, because you ain't playing as hard. And this is a time where Paul George is really having good games here. This last couple games, he's starting to feel better. But I just don't think that they can make up that 5-game deficit. I just don't think they can do it. When you look at all the teams there, as I said, Orlando, Indiana, Milwaukee are 4, 5, 6.
I feel good teams, about those teams.
Yeah, I mean, Milwaukee's not going to.
The Sixers.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Bucks and how they're falling apart a little bit, but beyond that, there's a Miami team that is playing better, and a Detroit team, and an Atlanta team. Those are the 7, 8, 9. So then you can say, well, they could overcome those teams. Sure, maybe, perhaps, but you have to win basketball games, and they lost to a Zionless Pelicans team that allowed 38 to CJ McCollum, who was awesome in that game. They just don't seem like they have it, and they lose to an Orlando team that literally is playing eight guys. 8 guys.
I would say, they could get to the top 6 seeds if you were to tell me Joel Embiid will play every game from here on out, but you're never going to tell me that, and I wouldn't believe you if you did. So that's the unfortunate part here, and that's why I don't have a lot of confidence. But I was ready to write them off even weeks prior to you.
Yeah, I'm way too positive. I'm way too positive. So now I actually see the 5 games that they're behind the Milwaukee Bucks, who aren't going to die. The Milwaukee Bucks are only 20-17.
Now, the Bucks just suck against really good teams.
Yeah.
They're okay against all the crappy teams. It's Philly losing these games that they probably should win, Embiid or not, if we're being honest. in the Pelicans' case. They should still win that game.
They haven't caught the Bulls.
Yeah.
The Bulls are terrible. Somehow they're near 500, but everybody who's a Chicago fan has thought, okay, the Sixers are going to catch us soon enough, and then the Bulls will finally start losing here. But Philly hasn't been able to pull it off. I kind of disagree about Paul George. He had a nice second half against Orlando, but he fouled out when they needed him most. He said he was bored playing center on Friday, which I feel like his quote's getting taken out of context a little bit. He's basically saying, when I play on the wing, there's a lot I got to do. I got to chase people around. I got to fight through screens. He's saying, when I play big guy, I just stand around all the time. It just sounds bad. It just sounded bad, but they really had poor execution down the stretch against Orlando. They gave up 3 offensive rebounds in the last 5 minutes, plus there was that weird play where like the ball just got jostled out. It ends up with an easy Jonathan Isaac dunk. They had a 5-second call down 5 with 10 seconds left. Like, a timeout was called, a play was brought in, and they couldn't even inbound it within 5 seconds. You might have thought that's a fast count, but still, get the ball in, grab a rebound. You got to do the little things to win games when you're a bad team, and the Sixers are a bad team right now. If you come in with bad vibes, you can get them back by beating the Sixers.
Yeah, I think it was Ziller in his newsletter this morning threw out the idea of, like, is Nick Nurse at all on the hot seat here with this Philadelphia team, with the way they're playing? And like, I know some of it's not his fault, of course, and the Embiid factor and all that, but like, yeah, they don't, there's no cohesion here.
No.
And I thought, I was like, I hadn't really thought about it. He hasn't been there all that long. Interesting. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe his seat is hot because he is jumping off of it and yelling a lot over and over.
He's trying.
He is trying. And
it's not really working.
There's some guys like Kelly Oubre who is really trying, and Gershon Yabusele who's really trying. And I said Paul George is playing well because he's had a bad season. And when he goes 20-11, 10-5, followed by a 25, 10-6, that's good for Paul George this season. The numbers are not good overall. He ain't being that efficient. He ain't leading all that well. It is odd to time it with Joel Embiid. The signing happens with Paul George. It's 4 years. And they're really pushing for him to kind of be like Joel Embiid. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but it sure seemed like we'll sit you out games so you're ready for the postseason. So those guys, it seemed like they're sort of in tandem in doing that. And unfortunately, they need Paul George to lead when Joel Embiid's not doing that. I was not playing, but that ain't happening. So it is odd. You think about that 4-year contract, and it's obviously looking bleak and how long it was. Period. Do they redo it? In a perfect world, does Daryl Morey say, "Oh no, that's long"?
I should have given it to James, actually.
to Jamesy.
He plays.
His team makes the playoffs.
But I'll say the top 6 in the way I should have said them: Cavs, Celtics, Knicks, Magic, Pacers, Bucks. They're not better than one of those teams. Yeah. They're not passing. They're not overcoming that 5-game deficit with any of those teams.
And then a bunch of other teams like sort of still in the way.
Decent teams.
If Paul George is bored playing the 5, we should show him tape from that Cruise Skyhawks game we had yesterday. All the post play we watched with Tolu Smith banging against Dominic Barlow. What, Paul, go play in the G League Center. They used the big guys, at least in that game they did.
Tolu versus Dominic. Tune in, Paul. You nailed it, though, Tess. They have no leadership. If their leadership is Joel Embiid, the leadership message you're getting is you don't have to play every game. Paul George is like, sweet, sign me up. I don't have to play every game. That's awesome. And that's the whole team. Those are your top 2 guys, and it's filtering all the way down through. And look at their season.
Yeah. It's a mess.
What's going on with Podcast P, though? Is he having a good season?
I don't know. I haven't seen the numbers.
He's still uploading. I saw a screenshot from a YouTube video this weekend that says, Podcast P, podcasting is harder than basketball.
That's his title?
That was his title. It was a Photoshop. But you believed it, didn't you?
I mean, sure.
And that's the problem. I believed it too.
Him.
Exactly. I was like, that sounds like a Paul George podcast quote. It was fake, though.
That's pretty good.
He just wants to run around screens, okay? Just wants to take every last shot. He wants to run around screens. He wants to handle and pick and roll. He doesn't want to do the hard stuff.
I can't blame him, I guess. The hard stuff, though, come on. He's got to come up with content for a podcast every week. He's got to book the guests. You got to get the conversation flowing. So you guys picked the Pelicans, or by extension, Zion, obviously Philadelphia. Maybe both of those teams, their seasons, maybe are over. This team that I'm picking for a loser of the weekend, it's not over, because you already said they're probably still a top 6 team. They are in the Eastern Conference. But the Milwaukee Bucks get my loser of the weekend for this reason. Jalen Brunson scored 44 points against them, despite missing a good chunk of the third quarter with an apparent leg injury, as the Knicks crushed Milwaukee 140-106 on Sunday. Milwaukee has now been blown out in both trips to New York, and in this one, they allowed the highest point total of the season, 140 points. That's a hell of a lot of points. The Bucks are now 0-8, guys, versus the top 3 teams in the Eastern Conference: Cleveland, Boston, and New York. Small sample size, I get it, but that's not great because you're going to be comparing yourself to those teams who you could potentially be playing, obviously, in a postseason matchup. And again, we've seen times before where you go 0-for against a team in the regular season, then you have your number in the postseason. I get that. That's happened many times in NBA history. But still, a little alarming. Giannis says, we got to get our stuff together. It's as simple as that. So they know that they haven't played well against the better teams in the East. But Lillard said, hey, this requires some context. Okay? He said, quote, you have to have watched the games. And he was citing the Bucks' 2 losses to the Cavs by a combined 3 points. So they're right there. They're right in it. And 2 other defeats to the Celtics that were decided pretty late. But 0-8 is 0-8 against the Cavs, the Celtics, and the Knicks. And this was pretty embarrassing, getting beat by 34.
I appreciate the context because Lillard is right about those games against the Celtics. I remember those. Those were close games back when they stunk to start the season, when they were 2-10 to start the season, if I am correct. 2 of those losses, the Celtics back-to-back, which were good losses. And watching this weekend when they beat the Magic, they just simply went to Dame Giannis pick and roll at the end of games, and it worked. Those last 3 minutes, it was so simple. It was things that you could ridicule Doc Rivers for. You other 3 guys, just go stand there. Dame, Giannis, pick and roll, and that chemistry was getting better, and they ended up winning the game. It was super simple, and it is getting better. But there are some bad losses. Yes.
Yeah. And look, for the most part, they did a great job to rebound here after that slow start. 20-17, they're right back in the mix with
Cup
Pacers
champs
and stuff like that. Cup champs, yes, who can forget?
They beat the Thunder. They're a good team.
In a game that doesn't even count, yes. But 5-5 over the last 10, and just like it is somewhat alarming against the elite teams in the East that they've yet to find a W. Some of them close, some of them not. It's more how they lost there on Sunday, which was
they got destroyed.
Yeah.
And they lost, should it come down to a tiebreaker, they lost the tiebreaker against the Knicks. They had a chance to kind of put themselves in the pole position for getting a decent seed, but the Bucks are just a middling team this season. They are now 10-10, because I'm counting that game against the Thunder. 10-10 against teams that are 500 and above. And that seems about right. It's if the Bucks have a hot shooting night, they'll probably win. But it's a real dice roll of a game because they're not always going to shoot very well. And the offense is just sticky sometimes. The only teams you see posting up this much are the Motor City Crews. And there ain't no Tolu Smith out there for the Bucks. It's so many post-ups for Giannis, so many post-ups for Lopez, so many post-ups for Bobby Portis. Yeah. It's 2025. I almost said 2024, but I remembered. Does Doc Rivers? That's not the game anymore. Shoot more threes. Play better.
So there you go. Those are our losers of the weekend. Obviously did the winners. Tell us who we missed. Let us know in the stream team as you are. Let us know in the YouTube comments. Tweet at us at NoDunkThink. There's still a lot of players and performances and teams that you could put into either bucket, winners and losers of the NBA weekend, but we got to call it there. At a certain point, you just have to stop talking. All right? That's just a little advice for everyone, Paul George included. Just stop talking. Yeah.
Stop podcasting, Pete.
So let's get to the pick'em, where I am struggling. I'm 1-5 in the month of January. God damn it, Skeets! After combined couple of months in pick'em, I added it all up just to see how everybody was doing. I was a couple games up on you guys, overall. I was feeling good this year. I was seeing the games, seeing the numbers, seeing the lines. I wasn't. It was bullshit. I didn't see anything. I got lucky. And now I suck at this. And then you really start second guessing yourself. So what's our game tonight?
Yeah, what's interesting is that through the first 3 months, we're the 3 that have lost. And Esh, the 4th here, has not lost. He's doing fine. I mean, he's lost games, but he hasn't been the worst in a single month.
So that's funny. He's probably never... Has he ever won a month? I don't think so, but he's never lost a month, and that's the important part.
Yeah, that is the important part. Memphis going to Houston for a rematch. They just had a great game. It's old Stevie Adams, the old Memphis Grizzly. He came off the bench for the Rockets. 9 boards in 12 minutes after eating his caveman meal.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, Tari Easton photographed Steven Adams eating a meal, which was a bowl of beef.
Just ground beef.
Just beef. Yeah, a piece of bread with nothing on it. And it was fruit. Just fruit.
Fruit's fine. Yeah.
He had a yogurt sitting there as well.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, everybody overlooked the yogurt.
Oh, I thought he must have photoshopped that out.
No.
Toast with nothing on it.
Toast.
Though. That's wild.
Dry toast. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, caveman ate fruit, but this doesn't seem as caveman-y as you would think. With the definition, the caption of caveman, I don't.
He looks like a caveman. That's what
him. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, he's playing his old team. I still think that they're going to win again. Why? Why shouldn't Memphis be able to bounce back? I don't know, and that's why Trey and Ash are taking the Grizzlies. Skeets is with me, seeing Houston win this game and cover a 2.5 point line there, which is basically a pick 'em, you know.
Pretty close.
So this was a fun game the first time.
It was.
Here they go again.
Yeah, and again, this one's on NBA TV. Trey and Esh, both tied 3-3, taking the Grizz. Tass, you're good right now, 5-1. Nice bounce back for you, and I'm 1-5. See if my bad luck, that stank, gets on you tonight.
Oh, okay. Right. Well, are you riding my 5-1 because you picked after me? Maybe you're just riding my Houston.
I did. I said Tass is hot right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be over. I don't know.
Well, it will be now that I'm with you. Yeah, for sure. All right, so that's our pick'em game tonight. We'll call it there. No playback tonight. Besides that game, it's not the sexiest schedule, you know.
Golden State and Toronto. Woo!
Oh my God, give it up, will you, with the Raptors, man?
They play fun games.
Stop saying that. Now it's annoying me. They're not fun games.
Tell.
They get their ass handed to them.
I can tell it's annoying you.
It's bad.
They're getting their asses handed to
them.
Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Did you watch them this weekend?
Oh my God.
They played an enjoyable game of basket.
An enjoyable game of basket.
They played the Pistons. It was fun.
Hey, that was cool.
Hey,
see
man.
what Bickerstaff did? He said, I'm going to give $500 to the LA Wildfires, charity and organizations to help bounce back for every assist we get. So what did the Pistons do? They went up and racked up a whole bunch of assists against the Raptors. I want to say it was like 37. Cade had a lot himself.
17, I think.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That was pretty slick. So, yeah, okay, it was entertaining.
Okay, that's cool.
And I'm just saying. You keep convincing me that they're like a good team.
Oh, no.
Every time I look, I'm like, they're on this long of a losing streak again?
Yeah, they're not
16
good.
out of 17? Tess is telling me, throw it back to 2024.
And I'm sorry, well, when we get Quickly back, you watch it. And I was like, no, that's not it either. We sort of have everybody back now.
Well, yeah, they needed him back, and it hasn't worked out since he's been back. They're 1-6 since he's been back.
That's right.
But close losses. Very close losses.
That was a big one, though.
Tough season.
Big one, yeah, they beat Brooklyn. Okay, so they lost to Orlando, Milwaukee, Knicks, Cavs, and the Pistons.
Yeah.
That's it. Those are good teams.
That's it.
Those are good teams.
Yeah. They're, what's their record?
It doesn't matter
8-30?
what their record is.
Well, no, the reason I asked is I saw somebody did the Photoshop because the Raptors are celebrating their 30th anniversary, and they have that cool, the Raptor eating sort of the 30 logo for the 30th anniversary, but somebody made a graphic that said 8 and 30 with that logo. I was like, God, that hurts. That's all right. We're going to get Cooper Flagg. It's going to be worth it. We'll call it there, but playback later this week was the whole point of that, and we'll tell you when we're doing that, probably on a Wednesday night. So put that in your calendar. Thanks for joining us live here on YouTube or listening to the podcast. Hit the like button, subscribe, share the show, leave us a 5-star rating and review. Until tomorrow, Clipper Bros.
You heard it here first. Have a great time. Turn up. Love you guys. Awesome.
First thing I got to say, I made a mistake saying Philadelphia started 2-10. They were 2-8 of their first 10, in their first 10. Okay. Second thing, Cooper Flagg coming to Canada. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Will he just bring the American flag? Because Canada might not have their own flag anymore.
Well, somebody said he'll be going south because where he's from is more north than Toronto. Oh. So it'll be balmy to him. It's warm here. All right, breaks the day, people.